Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is Monday, June 11th, and your radio host is Wanda. I will be reading from the Sunday Fayetteville Observer. So let's kick it off with the Need to Know section. Bright Ideas Grants. Teachers may apply for grants from South River Electric Membership Corporation, which expects to award $50,000 for classroom projects and materials through the Bright Ideas Grant Program. Teachers from K-12 public schools can apply for as much as $2,500. The application deadline is September the 19th. Teachers who submit an application by the early bird deadline of August 15th are eligible to win a $100 Visa gift card. Find out more at ncbrightideas.com. Pinwheel Masquerade Ball. Save the date. The Child Advocacy Center's 5th annual Pinwheel Masquerade Ball and Auction to unmask child abuse is scheduled for October 13th at the Metropolitan Room in downtown Fayetteville. The event will include mask contest, a DJ, dance, demonstrations, silent auction, live auction with vacation packages, refreshments, and more. For information about sponsorship and tickets, contact the Child Advocacy Center at 486-9700 or go to cacfaync.org. Institute for Community Leadership. The Institute for Community Leadership is accepting applications for the 2018-19 class. The program is designed to develop and empower community members who are willing to commit leadership and service roles in addressing important issues in Fayetteville and Cumberland County. The deadline to apply is July 17th. There are 7 monthly training sessions from September through April, excluding December. Sessions are held in different locations from 6 to 9 p.m., usually on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. For more information or to apply, go to leadershipforus.org or email rimcrowre01@uncfsu.edu. Livewire. And the first question is, can you still visit Shelly Island like last summer? This comes from CP in Eastover. The answer is sorry, CP, but as sometimes happens with barrier islands, the currents, winds, and waves change the formations. The shoal came to be early last year off the tip of Cape Point along the Cape Hatteras National Seashore. Shells were plentiful, thus earning its name, and the tourists came. In the summer, the amount of sand grew. There were few storms, and at one point it was estimated to be about 27 acres. Then came hurricane season, with Irma and Jose moving up the east coast, and in winter the Outer Banks even got snow. Things changed. Dave Clark, superintendent for the National Parks of Eastern North Carolina, told Danielle Constantini for an article in the spring issue of Coast Watch magazine, the energy from tropical storms and hurricanes off the coast appeared to have redistributed the sand all around the Cape Point area. Large waves and strong currents associated with storms can rearrange the beaches along barrier islands in a short period of time. The only separation of Shelly Island from Cape Point by January was a small tidal pool, the magazine said. Will it come back? As stated earlier, the currents, winds, and waves change the formations. In other words, we'll all have to wait and see. Meanwhile, our state treasurer, that is Cape Hatteras National Seashore, has plenty to offer. To plan a trip or get more information, check out the park's website online at nps.gov/CAHA/index.htm. Fort Bragg soldier killed in Somalia attack. A Fort Bragg soldier was killed and 4 others were wounded Friday during an attack in Somalia. Staff Sergeant Alexander W. Conrad, 26, of Chandler, Arizona, was identified by U.S. Army Special Operations Command late Saturday following the notification of his family. Conrad was a human intelligence non-commissioned officer assigned to the 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group. According to U.S. Africa Command, he and other U.S. troops were operating with Somali National Security Forces and Kenyan Defense Forces in southern Somalia when they came under mortar and small arms fire about 2:45 p.m. Mogadishu time. Of the wounded Americans, 1 was treated in the field and 3 were medically evacuated, officials said. 1 partner force soldier was also wounded in the attack. On Saturday, officials said the wounded Americans have been treated and discharged and are currently under the care of the U.S. Embassy medical team in Kenya as they await follow-on transportation for additional medical evacuation. Conrad joined the Army in 2010 and had previously served at Joint Base Lewis McChord. He deployed twice to Afghanistan before being assigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg in 2016. His awards and decorations include 2 Meritorious Unit Commendations, 3 Army Commendation Medals, the Army Achievement Medal, 2 Army Good Conduct Medals, the National Defense Service Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, 2 Non-Commissioned Officer Professional Development Ribbons, the Army Service Ribbon, 2 Overseas Service Ribbons, the NATO Medal, the Combat Action Badge, the Basic Parachutist Badge, and the Driver and Mechanic Badge. Conrad was posthumously awarded a Purple Heart and Meritorious Service Medal. According to reports, there are about 500 U.S. troops in Somalia, consisting mostly of Special Operations Forces. The troops are in Somalia in coordination with the Somali government. They are working to combat the threat imposed by terrorist groups such as the Islamic State and the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab. Following Friday's attack, officials said American troops would continue to support partners in Somalia and Africa in an effort to bring improved governance, development, and stability. Our strategy in East Africa is to build partner capacity to ensure that violent extremist organizations who wish harm in the region with harm on the European continent and ultimately wish to harm the United States are contained, said Marine Corps General Thomas Waldhauser, the commander of U.S. Africa Command. Simply put, we're working to prevent atrocious acts before they come to fruition. The 3rd Special Forces Group soldiers who were attacked on Friday were part of a force of about 800 American, Somali, and Kenyan troops conducting a multi-day operation about 350 kilometers south of Mogadishu. The mission's objectives were to clear the area of fighters belonging to Al-Shabaab, liberate villages from the terrorist control, and establish a permanent combat outpost for Somali forces. The U.S. troops provided advice, assistance, and aerial surveillance during the mission, officials said. The Somali government is dedicated to restoring peace and stability to the Somali people, and the U.S. supports those efforts, according to U.S. Africa Command. The mission was specifically designed to increase the Somali government ability to provide vital government services to innocent civilians living under Al-Shabaab's rule. The population in the region had historically supported the government, and the Somali forces had prepared for this mission by coordinating heavily with and securing the support of local authorities ahead of time. Soldiers from the 3rd Special Forces Group have had a presence in Somalia for several years as part of their renewed focus on North and West Africa following years of constant deployment to Afghanistan. On any given day, about 400 3rd Group soldiers out of approximately 2,600 are deployed, with most of those deployed troops serving in Africa. Conrad's death was the first loss for the group since October, when 4 3rd Group soldiers were killed during a complex ambush near Tongo, Niger. Last month, 3rd Group dedicated 7 memorial stones to soldiers who died in Africa in the previous year. They included the 4 soldiers killed in Niger, Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, Staff Sergeant Dustin Wright, Sergeant First Class Jeremiah Johnson, and Staff Sergeant Brian Black, and 3 soldiers killed in non-combat incidents in Kenya, Niger, and Mali. Sergeant First Class Zachary Bannister, Warrant Officer Sean D. Thomas, and Staff Sergeant Logan J. Melgar. Conrad is the 2nd U.S. service member killed in Somalia in a little over a year. In May 2017, a Navy SEAL was killed fighting al-Shabaab. That was the first combat death in Somalia for an American service member since 1993, when the Battle of Mogadishu took place. The 2-day battle, which took place in October 1993, was depicted in the book Black Hawk Down and the movie of the same name. 18 soldiers were killed during the battle, including 5 members of the Fort Bragg Base 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta. A 6th soldier from the unit was killed by a mortar 2 days after the battle. Council to consider jobs grant pass budget. An employer in Fayetteville plans to add more than 200 jobs to its payroll, but it wants an $89,000 grant from the city to make that happen. The Fayetteville City Council is scheduled to consider that request Monday night, plus pass a $238.5 million city budget. The budget has fee increases for trash collection, parks and recreation, and other items. The council meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. in City Hall at 433 Hayes Street. These items are scheduled to come after the council appoints someone to fill the vacant District 2 council seat. A memo to the City Hall about the employer that wants to expand does not name the company, but instead hides it behind a code name, Project Intelligence. The company is described as specializing in management, consulting, and engineering services and has 40 jobs here now. The memo says the company plans to expand with 178 people added by the end of 2020 and another 30 by the end of 2021 for a total payroll of 248 people. The company offers a competitive average annual salary of $64,300 as well as a comprehensive benefits package. The memo says it would spend $1.2 million for real estate and equipment and anticipate ultimately spending $5 million. It is asking for a grant of up to $89,000 from the city. The Cumberland County Board of Commissioners on June 4th approved a grant of up to that amount too. The memo says the state government is also considering assistance. This project is competitive in nature as the company has substantial operations in other states, the memo says. With your support, we hope to reinforce and dramatically expand their operations here in Fayetteville. The City Council is scheduled to take a final vote on the 2018-2019 city budget. The budget has no property tax increase, but it has fee increases that residents will notice throughout the city. At the same time, the budget includes spending on amenities designed to make Fayetteville a better place to live. The fee increases a boost in residential garbage collection fees to $190 per year, or $15.83 per month. The fee is now $108.09 per month. This is to make the tax collection operation self-supporting from fees instead of subsidized tax revenues. The monthly stormwater infrastructure fee will rise to $6. It's now $4.25. The increase is to pay for engineering studies for flood control infrastructure. Various fees to participate in park and recreation programs are scheduled to rise. Various fees related to burial in the city-owned Cross Creek Cemetery are scheduled to rise to pay for maintenance and improvements. The existing fees are significantly lower than what privately owned cemeteries in Fayetteville charge. The amenities: a new swimming pool to be built at Lake Rim Park, $981,000 allocated for debt service from a $35 million bond package city votes approved in 2016. $125,000 for inflatable domes to cover the Westover and Bates pools during cool weather months, so the pools can be used by local swim teams. Initially, there are no plans to keep the pools open to the general public outside the summer months. Forever loved and missed. The small burial plots vary, as some are humbly sparse while others are more elaborate. Epitaphs grace many of the tombstones written in memory of a beloved companion. One honors a silver bell Isabel. Beloved pet of memory Briggs, it reads, December the 24th, 1969 to August the 28th, 1986. Belle of my heart, I miss you. The Fayetteville Pet Cemetery, perhaps unknown to many, is the final resting place for silver bell Isabel and a slew of other animals that grace these parts with their love and devotion. Excuse me. Bobo, Popo, Figaro, Baby Moop, Chief, Adam, Toby, Pharaoh, Sissy Coat, and Lady Lucy of Oberlin are among the other names etched into grave markers and headstones that date to the 1950s and 60s. The cemetery, less than an acre and purchased by Rogers and Breeze Funeral Home from a private owner in 1983, lies off a slice of Dock Bennett Road across from VFW Post 670 and close to the Fayetteville Regional Airport. It's been there a long time, said Patty Lambert, office administrator for Fayetteville Memorial Cemetery and Breeze Monuments. On this late Thursday morning, shadows from the pines and scrubs oaks darken portions of the graveyard, largely littered with pine straw, cones, small sticks, and other natural debris. The leaves rustle from the soft breeze that occasionally blows through. On this day in early June, there is no need to be seen in the cemetery. Some burial plots have wrought iron-like fencing around the graves. Flowers and ceramic animals decorate those and others. Placed neatly on a grave for Freckles Sackfield is a small concrete pup with angel wings and a photo of the black and white dog. The granite gravestone reads, July 1994 through February 2008. Our beloved pup, forever loved and missed by her mommy and daddy. Many of those who recall their high school English literature class may have studied the Edgar Lee Masters collection of free verse poems, Spoon River Anthology. The 1915 book tells of the individual stories of residents of the fictional town of Spoon River through their epitaphs. No, the inscriptions on the graves at the Fayetteville Pet Cemetery are not detailed, but plenty of the ones that have remained legible over time pay tribute to an animal as dearly missed as close as family members. Love, Beowulf Myers, reads one gravestone, our darling faithful child, we love you forever. November 21st, 1972 through December 18th, 1983. The owners of Hughes marked that dog's grave with, you left your paw prints on my heart. A small garden flag has been placed by the grave, where Stanley, too, has been laid to rest. The flag says, no longer by my side, but forever in my heart. Not all the wording is melancholic, with its heartfelt yearning to one day reunite with a dear departed pet in the afterlife. Guardian, friend, cow, chaser is written on the headstone for Atticus. A photo of the dog has been embedded into the granite, which also tells us that Atticus was here among us from 1994 to 2011. Visitors learn that Blackie, the beloved pet of the William J. Rankin family, was born in Okinawa on March 24th, 1964. Lackey would live 11 years before its death in North Carolina. Our best friend, the animal marker states. Lambert said they receive few calls these days about availability in the pet cemetery, where the plots range in price from $300 to $425. Most people cremate now, she said, and scatter or save the ashes. Why aren't regulations stopping it? The city of Pittsburgh gives the impression its drinking water comes from a pristine mountain spring, not the contaminated headwaters of the Cape Fear River. In a matter of only a few decades, drinking water has become exponentially safer and more reliable than at any other point in human history, reads the city's water quality report from 2016. Our exceptional staff continues to work hard every day at any hour to deliver the highest quality drinking water without interruption. The report contains no mention of 1,4-dioxane, a highly likely carcinogen used as an industrial solvent and stabilizers. Yet near Pittsburgh's drinking water intake, researchers within the past 6 months have found 1,4-dioxane at the concentration of 65 parts per billion, 186 times higher than the federal cancer risk assessment. The latest water quality reports for Sanford and Harnett County don't mention 1,4-dioxane either, but it's there and in the drinking water of Fayetteville, Wilmington, and other cities in the Cape Fear River Basin. A year after Gen X became one of the biggest environmental crises in North Carolina's history, leading to swift action against Chemours, the chemical 1,4-dioxane continues to pollute the drinking water for nearly 1.5 million North Carolinians. Yet, this likely carcinogen in tap water has not gotten the attention that Gen X has. State regulators said they can't take action to force industrial polluters to immediately stop discharges. When news of Gen X broke on June 7, 2017, the state, Wilmington's water supplier, and citizens group jumped into action. Since then, lawsuit after lawsuit has been filed against Chemours, whose plant just south of Fayetteville discharged Gen X. State regulators and lawmakers have threatened to shut down the plant. Why hasn't 1,4-dioxane gotten the same reaction? I have asked myself that question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to it, said Mick Nolan, Chief Operating Officer for the Public Works Commission, which supplies Fayetteville's water. Why hasn't there been more done? Why has it taken us this long? There's every indication that 1,4-dioxane may be as toxic or even more so than Gen X, the suspected carcinogen that DuPont and later Chemours discharged for decades into the air and water from the Fayetteville Works plant. While regulators have dramatically curtailed the flow of Gen X in the Cape Fear River, the levels of 1,4-dioxane are on the rise. At the intake for Fayetteville's water, levels in the past 6 months have been 9 times the federal cancer risk assessment, which is the threshold for what's considered safe. The reason for that have mystified state and local officials. After years of environmental investigation, they thought they had identified the major polluter and had gotten them to stop. But unlike with Chemours, the State Department of Environmental Quality cannot threaten the industries with permit revocation. The companies don't have a federal pollution permit. They dump their wastewater, including the unregulated 1,4-dioxane, directly into the public sewer system. The chemical winds up in municipal wastewater treatment plants, which are unable to rid 1,4-dioxane before it is released into the Cape Fear River Basin. I'm going to stop here and read our announcement. Welcome to the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service. We are a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a non-profit agency, we rely on public donations. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio host is Wanda, and I am proud to serve you today. Okay. At this point, Nolan isn't overly concerned. He believes the state and the affected cities have time to fix the problem without causing harm. The EPA's cancer risk assessment for 1,4-dioxane is 0.35 parts per billion. That means a person who drinks 2 liters of tap water at that level over a lifetime stands a 1 in 1 million chance of it causing cancer. At 3.3 parts per billion, which is Fayetteville's recent level of 1,4-dioxane, the cancer risk is closer to 1 in 100,000. Farther upstream, concentrations are much higher. State regulators have identified 3 wastewater treatment plants in Greensboro, Asheboro, and Reedsville as sources for 1,4-dioxane. The treated wastewater discharged in Asheboro in February measured 1,011 parts per billion, nearly 2,900 times higher than the federal risk assessment. Michael Roney, Asheboro's Water Resources Director, said the city knows the 1,4-dioxane is coming from Star Pet Incorporated, which makes plastic bottles and other products. Jason Greenwood, a spokesman for the plant, said getting the concentration of 1,4-dioxane to acceptable levels is of the highest priority. It just hasn't happened yet and may not happen for years. A draft permit for Asheboro's wastewater treatment plant would give the plant 3 years to bring the measurable levels of 1,4-dioxane effluent down to no more than 149 parts per 1 billion. In other words, it could take 6 years from the time Star Pet was identified as a major polluter of 1,4-dioxane until it meets the state's anticipated permit requirements. Like many treatment plants and industries throughout the state, Asheboro's wastewater treatment plant is operating on an expired permit, largely because of a DEQ staffing shortage. It could take even longer to curb polluters in Reedsville, about 30 minutes north of Greensboro. The state plans to set permit limits for its wastewater treatment plant too, but hasn't done so yet, said DEQ spokeswoman Bridget Munger. Asheboro is doing everything it can to reduce 1,4-dioxane levels leaving the wastewater treatment plant. The city of Asheboro has worked closely with DEQ and completely compiled with all of their requests in a timely manner. Roney said, "This is not an issue in which we can just flip a switch and everything is solved. These issues take time, and everyone here will do what is required to resolve this issue." Although 1,4-dioxane was first identified as a drinking water contaminant in 1975, it didn't hit the EPA's radar until a few years ago. In 2013, the EPA required municipal systems to start testing for 1,4-dioxane under the 1996 Safe Drinking Waters Act's unregulated contaminant monitoring rule. According to the Act, every 5 years, the EPA must issue a new list of no more than 30 unregulated contaminants to be monitored by public water systems. Testing for 1,4-dioxane was conducted from 2013 to 2015. The results from 6,000 municipal systems determined that concentrations of 1,4-dioxane in the Cape Fear River Basin were among the highest in the country. Of the 20 highest levels recorded nationally, 7 were in the Cape Fear River. Since the federal monitoring requirement ended, Sanford and other cities in the river basin no longer test for 1,4-dioxane. Fayetteville still monitors and lists the results on its annual water quality report. A year after the testing began nationally, Detlef Knapp, a professor and environmental researcher at NC State University, began sampling water for 1,4-dioxane in the basin as part of a study funded by the National Science Foundation, and a consortium of a dozen municipal water suppliers, including Fayetteville. The DEQ's Division of Water Resources used those results for an initial study that concluded that the primary sources of 1,4-dioxane in the basin were the wastewater treatment plants in Asheboro, Reedsville, and Greensboro. The study was released in 2016. A subsequent DEQ study in 2017 found that levels had decreased at every monitoring site. The study suggested that the abatement efforts by the 3 treatment plants and the responsible industries were working. Tammy Hill, a DEQ specialist who has been researching 1,4-dioxane in the basin since 2014, says she doesn't know why the 1,4-dioxane levels have gone back up or why there is continual fluctuation in concentrations. I wish we could figure out the swings, added Roney, Asheboro's Water Resources Director. We have studied this and cannot determine any clear correlation from our data. The state's study didn't name the industries responsible for the 1,4-dioxane, but it is clear the DEQ knows at least some of them. Working with state regulators, the 3 wastewater treatment plants began conducting trunk line inspections to look for 1,4-dioxane in sewer pipes of individual industries. Roney confirmed that Star Pet was identified in 2016 as the city's sole discharger of 1,4-dioxane. In Greensboro, Assistant Water Resources Director Mike Borcher declined to identify any company, saying the public record law related to the billing shields him from having to do so. In Reedsville, new water director Chuck Smith also would not reveal the industries because the city continues to survey them. The DEQ won't name the companies either, saying it does not permit or oversee their discharges. We are not in a position to confirm exactly what they are discharging, said Munger, the DEQ spokeswoman. We don't see their data. In a 2016 article for North Carolina Health News, environmental reporter Catherine Clabby identified 2 Reedsville companies, Unify Incorporated, a manufacturer of polyester and nylon yarns, and DyeStar, which produces dyes and other products, as companies that are discharging 1,4-dioxane into the city's wastewater treatment plant. Cindy Perry, the mayor of Pittsboro, said she is discouraged by the lack of help at the federal level and frustrated over the time it took the state to begin monitoring the 3 wastewater treatment plants. Perry wants a coalition of mayors in the Cape Fear River Basin to advocate for change. She said the state has not voluntarily told her what industries are polluting the basin. It's not the responsibility of the downstream people, Perry said. I think it's only reasonable that we should not be the inheritors of a mess that we did not create ourselves. Although the companies releasing the 1,4-dioxane aren't required to have a federal EPA discharge permit, cities have some control over them through what are known as pre-treatment permits. Those permits can also set pollution discharge limits. Roney said a discharge limit for 1,4-dioxane will be established for Star Pet once the state signs off on Asheboro's modified federal wastewater treatment plant permit. We don't have legal authority to regulate this until it is in our current permit, Roney said. I assume the new permit will be finalized in the next few months. Greenwood, the Star Pet spokesman, said the company continues to exemplify excellent environmental stewardship and regularly works with Asheboro to examine the plant's generation and discharge of wastewater. Star Pet is a subsidiary of Indorama Ventures USA Incorporated. Consistent with being a responsible industrial citizen, Indorama proactively initiated and has completed an engineering study to mitigate and reduce 1,4-dioxane in the wastewater streams in our plants, and will initiate the plan in 2018, Greenwood said in an email. At this point, only the permits for wastewater treatment plants in Asheboro and Reedsville will have requirements that limit the amount of 1,4-dioxane they can discharge, said Munger, the DEQ spokeswoman. Greensboro treatment plant is also required to monitor monthly for the substance, but its discharge level shave not been in potential. Let me try this again. Greensboro's treatment plant is also required to monitor monthly for the substance, but its discharge levels have not been in potential violation, she said. Michael Borchers, Greensboro Assistant Director of Water Resources, said the highest levels detected since monthly monitoring started in December was just under 27 parts per billion. We are working with all stakeholders to continue to monitor the situation and minimize the potential for releases of this and other emerging contaminants, Borchers said. Nolan, the Fayetteville PWC's chief operating officer, said local and state officials are working together to determine whether Asheboro's proposed discharge limit of 149 parts per billion for 1,4-dioxane is appropriate and whether the 3-year time limit to achieve compliance is reasonable. Nolan said the burden of eliminating 1,4-dioxane should be on the industries, not on ratepayers or taxpayers. Emily Sutton, the river keeper for the Haw River Assembly, thinks so too. We want industries to be regulated and have strict guidelines and limitations on what contaminants can be released into the water and to have filtration systems at the source to keep the contaminants out of the river to begin with, Sutton said. Most municipal treatment plants don't have the capability to filter 1,4-dioxane from drinking water. One exception is Wilmington, where treatment using an advanced oxidation process filters about 2/3 of the chemical from the drinking water. Frank Stiers, Chief Operating Officer for the Cape Fear Public Utilities Authority, said Wilmington's water supplier has been using the process since about 2000. More advanced systems can screen virtually all 1,4-dioxane from drinking water, but they are expensive. The Wilmington utility also is moving ahead with a granulated activated carbon filtration system to remove Gen X and potentially hundreds of other per- and polyfluorinated compounds known collectively as PFAS. Those emerging contaminants also can be found throughout the Cape Fear River Basin, along bromides as byproducts of drinking water disinfection that can breed other contaminants. NAP has been studying that issue as well. In 2007, EPA researcher Mark Striner and others published a report that first recognized high concentration of perfluorinated compounds, including PFOA and PFOS, in the basin. That led to further studies and eventually to the discovery of Gen X. After studying 1,4-dioxane in the Cape Fear River Basin, the DEQ began monitoring for it in the Neuse and Yadkin basins. None was found in the Neuse, and only one of 43 sites found it in the Yadkin at 1.3 parts per billion, said Hill, the DEQ environmental specialist. Initial tests in the Lumber and White Oak Basin are also encouraging, Hill said. Rough road to District 2. Patricia Bradley and Dan Culleton appear to be the leading candidates for the appointment to the Fayetteville City Council on Monday, but both have been wading through unusually messy politics in the 3 weeks since they and 8 others applied for the District 2 seat. Bradley, a former police lawyer, is connected to a controversy 8 years ago over the police department's consent searches of drivers, while Culleton has business debts that some observers are pushing as an issue. Perhaps a stronger undercurrent in the selection could be race, which has come up at nearly every public forum about the seat. Bradley is black and a Democrat. Culleton is a white Republican. The Fayetteville Obsever interviewed 7 of the 8 city council members late last week, along with Mayor Mitch Colvin. Few of them would offer any clues about their leanings. Their choice will fill the seat left vacant by Tyrone Williams' resignation. I'm not done looking, Councilman DJ Harris said. I really think all of them are good candidates. Sharon Moyer, a white Democrat, could be a sleeper pick, as her name came up in several interviews. The other applicants are Lynn Brown, Vernell Cruz, Mary Smith, Bunny English, retired Brigadier General William Gothard, Philip McCorkadale, George Mitchell, and George Turner. The council is expected to vote during its regular meeting at City Hall. The city held 2 public forums to hear from the applicants and residents. District 2, the city's largest and one of its most diverse, encompasses downtown, parts of Haymount, Massey Hill, and some of the city's poorest sections. We are in a position now where we either can set this city back 100 years or move this city forward. Councilwoman Tisha Waddell said, "This has become a very racially divided conversation and we need to get this right." Community activist Troy Williams said the choice appears to be between Bradley or Culleton. They're holding it close to the chest, he said. Colvin steered away from saying whether he would vote for one of the two. He acknowledged he was kind of impressed with Miss Moyer and Bradley. "I'm taking a closer look at the two of them because they resonated with that district's needs. I feel as part of the open, transparent process, those two attracted my attention in a positive way." All in all, he said, the council has received some strong applicants during this process. Mayor Pro Tem Ted Moan and Councilwoman Kathy Jensen said their choice was down to 3 of the applicants. Neither would divulge those names. "I'm going to see what other phone calls I get," Moan said. "Outside organizations, political parties, I don't give a crap about what they think. I'm more interested in what District 2 residents feel. I haven't finalized it yet." The Cumberland County Democratic Party endorsed Bradley for the seat, which was criticized by some as unfair to other candidates. The party has advocated for the appointee to be a minority Democrat since that's who voters elected in Tyrone Williams. Councilman Larry Wright agrees. "I feel that way," he said, "that a minority, not necessarily a black, but the minority could be a woman, because I feel like it's a Democratic district and a minority district. 1,400 people voted for Williams, therefore it was a minority Democrat." But Wright added, "At the end of the day, that does not always mean that's the way I'm going to vote. I'll be listening to my counterparts on the council. We want someone who is honest, someone with integrity, someone who feels like we won't have this type of controversy. It has been a challenge for us." He would not say who he was voting for, calling it a hard decision. Tyrone Williams, facing forcible removal, resigned May 3rd. 4 weeks earlier, the Fayetteville Obsever published an audio recording of a private meeting in December in which Williams asked a Prince Charles Holdings developer for $15,000 to help resolve a minor issue with a property title. The FBI investigated the situation, though it's unclear whether it's still an open case. Williams maintained he did nothing wrong. Williams won the November election to the open District 2 seat with 1,470 votes, or 56.1%. Culleton received 1,141 votes. Mabel Smith, a former District 2 councilwoman, said at the public forums that the race of the candidate was unimportant. The city, she maintained, should consider the individual who will do the best job. Chris said in an interview that he agrees strongly. "I'm appalled at that stuff," he said. "I'm appalled at a Democratic body who reached out and chose one candidate out of the group. And when did race become a factor? When did color become a factor?" Bradley, 46, is an Army veteran who formerly worked as an assistant city attorney and lawyer for the Fayetteville Police Department. She is now employed by Fayetteville State University. Bradley was the police attorney 8 years ago when the agency came under fire for disproportionately stopping and searching black drivers. Calls for reform came from Troy Williams and other local leaders. Several new policies were adopted, and the city installed more camera and audio systems to record traffic stops. Drivers are now given a form explaining their rights when police lack probable cause to conduct a search. Speculation has circulated that at least some on the council may support Bradley because they believe she could be a vote toward firing her former boss. City Attorney Karen McDonald and perhaps replacing her. Bradley said no one had approached her about that scenario. From my perspective, it couldn't be further from the truth. If that has been a discussion at all with anyone, it has not been a discussion with me. I have no interest in doing that. Bradley said there is no animosity between her and McDonald. She said that she had a good relationship with all the city departments and that her choice to leave her job was a professional and personal one. I consider myself able to work with anyone, Bradley said. Colvin said there's no council conspiracy to deal with Miss McDonald. I think agitators would have a different motive, want to make that an issue. Bradley was the first to file an application and to go through the vetting, Colvin said. She has an impressive resume. Anytime you have someone with the same credentials as the city manager and city attorney, that's a tremendous asset to the city, to the policy board. Ms. Moyer impressed me with her connection with the community. I've had a good conversation with the two of them. Moyer 50 is a community engagement manager for the Partnership for Children. She's a former executive director of the Fayetteville Dogwood Festival and a former events and marketing manager for the Fayetteville Obsever. Most council members said there was no substance to the speculation about McDonald's job. That's just one of those rumors that outside organizations are starting, Moen said. At her last evaluation, council unanimously gave her a pay raise. She got a high ranking. Hare said he was shocked to hear the speculation the other day. I've heard that before. Jensen said the city has a very good city attorney, and Waddell and Wright said there was no truth to talk about conspiring to replace McDonald. You know what? I don't know where that came from, Wright said. There's no truth to that. That would be crazy to choose somebody to get somebody fired. I don't operate like that. While Bradley may be dealing with what her detractors are saying, Culleton is not without detractors of his own. Culleton, 48, is a chiropractor and the executive director of the Valley Physical Medicine. He also owns a licensed general contracting company engaged in light residential and commercial construction and development. Previously, he served on Fayetteville's Planning Commission. He addressed his financial debts during his campaign last fall. He had an IRS tax lien issued in 2016 that says he owed $31,400 from 2011, 13, and 14. Culleton, who is self-employed, said his accountant failed to deduct enough from his checks for taxes, and he arranged with the IRS to pay his debt in installments. More recently, he said his business was the victim of a fraud that caused a massive loss in 2015 and 2016. Culleton said he was unable to pay all the taxes. Ongoing losses from his business are tax deductible and are reducing his tax debt, he said. Culleton said he filed for Chapter 11 reorganization in early 2017 on a large practice he had acquired from outside of Fayetteville. Personal assets were attached to some of the lien holders, according to Culleton. I opened full disclosure, personal and corporate, so the courts would have full transparency, he said. In my opinion, the critics are making it a political issue and for no other reason. Mitchell and Moyer also have had bankruptcies in their past. Mitchell filed in 2007 and Moyer in 2009. Councilman Chris said Culleton has taken care of his financial problems. He's paying back those debts. Said Wright, for some it may come into play, for some it may not. We'll have to wait and see. I think Dan is a good guy, and I think Bradley is a good leader. Both of them, and it may seem like those are the two leading persons. Artist sculpture travels mountain to mouth. Stone, metal, and wood are typical sculpture materials. Hog intestines? Not so much. But that's one of the materials local artists and business owners Leslie Pearson uses in her works. Her unusual approach recently helped earn her the role in an innovative project on the other side of the world. Pearson is co-owner of the Fayetteville Pie Company in Westwood Shopping Center. She also sits on the board of the Arts Council in Fayetteville, Cumberland County. Pearson says she started using hog intestines, the kind of thing usually used for sausage casings, while a graduate art student at East Carolina University. I was looking for a material that would allow for some translucency, she said. I tried leather, I tried paper, then someone introduced me to hog intestines. Pearson uses the material to stretch over the framework of her sculptures like a skin. When dried, it has a paper-like consistency. Recently, an online artist friend, Carrie Betson, told Pearson about an unusual project in Betson's native Australia. Held every 2 years, the Mountain to Mouth event involves creating a sculpture using all natural materials. The event is so named because it starts at the top of the Yu Yang Mountain and ends at the mouth of the Barwon River. The sculpture is carried about 50 miles through the Australian countryside, with ceremonies held along the way to mark its passage. At the end of the journey, the sculpture is set afire. The theme for this year's event was Earth. Betson and Pearson collaborated online and on a design for the project, which was accepted by Mountain to Mouth organizers. In mid-April, Pearson traveled to Australia, where the two artists set about building the sculpture they had designed. The sculpture was called Canoe. It was built of materials including cane, bamboo, paper, and of course, hog intestines. The resulting work was 6 feet long and 4 feet wide. We needed it to be lightweight but structurally sound, Pearson said. After its completion, volunteers carried the sculpture and other smaller ones through the city of Geelong, about 50 miles southwest of Melbourne, and through the Yuyangs mountain range. At the end of its journey, it was set on fire at the waters of the Barwon River. The materials had to be non-toxic so as to not contribute to pollution. Since it was made with all natural materials, it went up really fast, Pearson said. The masthead of the sculpture was preserved to be put on display. For Pearson, one of the most fascinating aspects of the experience was interacting with the people she met along the way and participating in the ceremonies staged around the project. Thousands of people participated in it. It was amazing, Pearson said. Everything was about Earth and being mindful of how we're connected to the land and what our effect is on the land. For me, it was a spiritual experience, and I think that was the whole intention. Let's see how much I can read of this one. Our time is short, but I will give you some of this article. Council should choose between Bradley and Culleton. Supporting a political candidate on social media is easy, but when people leave their homes in the evening, attend a forum, and stand in front of their fellow citizens and speak on behalf of that candidate, that's a deeper commitment. 10 people each walked that walk Tuesday for Patricia Bradley and Dan Culleton, who are seeking to fill open seats for the City Council District 2. None of the other 8 candidates were close to that level of support at the forum held at the City Hall. This should make a difference to the council, which is scheduled Monday to vote on someone for the seat. Tyrone Williams, who won the seat in November, resigned after he was recorded trying to get money from a developer. In an ideal world, a new election would be held. With that off the table, council members use a logical approach to gauging popular support for an applicant. It is their prerogative to choose the applicant they wish to choose from who apply. But if they go outside of Bradley and Culleton, they are getting even further away from the ideal of representative government. As for those 2 applicants, I will not be putting my foot on the scale for either. I will take a different view. If I thought one or the other would be as total a wreck as that man they would replace. City council officials are officially nonpartisan, but that did not stop the local Democratic Party from endorsing Bradley. Culleton, a chiropractor, is a registered Republican. Okay, I'm trying to weed through this since we have a time constraint because we've heard some of this already. We know about Bradley's resume. We've read about that. Culleton's strength seems obvious when you hear people talk about him. People believe he's sincere and he listens. He has been a shoe leather candidate, a door-to-door type person who finished second to Williams in November. Bradley has been talked about as providing 1 vote on the council, and we've already read about that, to get rid of the city attorney. So let's go to something else. Bradley's strong resume includes the professional relationships at Fayetteville State. She's an Army veteran and has served as general counsel on Pope Field that puts her at the intersection of important partnerships that are vital to moving the city forward. Okay, so let's see how we can close this out. They will want someone with whom they can get along, as far as speaking about the council. I acknowledge that the council members will see things in all of the applicant pluses and minuses that only they can appreciate because they sit in the seat themselves. They will also want someone with whom they can get along. I'll be interested to see which way they go. I do not have to remind them they should always put the people first in this matter and others. This is written by Myron Pitts. This concludes the reading of the Sunday Fayetteville Observer. Your radio host has been Wanda. Coming up next, the broadcast of the Harnett County News, the Rayford News Journal, and the Robesonian. I've enjoyed being with you this evening. Thank you for tuning me in, and have a wonderful day.